Welcome, one and all, to another episode of THRS Deep Cuts. Tonight, I've been joined by Dave. How you going?
Good, mate. How are you?
Good, thank you. And also, down the bottom there, we have Tim. How you going there, mate?
Very well, thanks. Yourself?
Good. We'll do a more formal introduction in a second. I just thought I'd run with something a little bit different there. But anyway, we're going to be talking about the latest from the Bronx Leprous and a classic from the Rolling Stones as well. And we'll have some interesting huddle happenings to quickly touch on before we get to the hot topic and all our usual stuff. The bin later on. Make sure you get involved in the comments. Give us, the whole thing about like, comment, share, subscribe, all those usual things. So everything you need to know for that kind of stuff is in the details of the post or the description, wherever it is you're tuning into this one from. And if you're tuning in later on via audio or video, then we do appreciate you taking the time. But if you are here with us live, get in the comments, say hi, give us any thoughts you've got as we go along, because we try and make these things as fun and interactive as possible. And a big thank you, of course, to our fantastic sponsors, Squidding Screen Printing, Alt Cult, and Rockstar Finance. Their details, just like ours, are in the description of the post. So please find them, give them a follow, show them just a little bit of love for the help they give us here at the show, especially with things being the way they are at the moment. But that's what we're up for tonight. We've got our regular here. Nudes has joined us tonight. So good to see you here, Nudes. Thanks for jumping in. And I did get your message. I will get back to you, I promise. I just, flat out. And but that's it. That's what we're going to be going through in just a few minutes. But before we do, let's just do the round. So, Dave, how's your week going?
Yeah, not too bad. Can't complain. Off work next week.
Yeah.
Or to be back the week after. But the boss is just cutting back for a little bit. Nothing too bad. Can still survive that. But it's been nice weather today. Made the most of it. Went for a walk with the family. Had a barbecue. Got a new gas bottle, so all good.
Not like last time we ran out.
Yeah, halfway through. But yeah, smooth sailing. And just listening to music and watching wrestling. Life is
cool.
Good. Yeah.
All right. Nice. What about you, Tim? How's it all going for you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Music and wrestling.
Yeah.
I had a revelation this week, actually, which was the best smelling thing in the world, right?
Okay.
Nothing smells better than somebody else's barbecue.
Yeah, that's up there. Definitely.
Right, I love barbecues, right? Barbecues are the best, right? But there is nothing better than when your window is open and you smell like your neighbor's barbecue, and all of a sudden everything that you've planned for food just seems like shit because it's the best smelling barbecue of all time.
It always happens.
That nothing smells better than when one of your neighbors is barbecuing.
That's a good point.
Until you start barbecuing yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I suppose when you're doing it yourself.
Smell neighbor's barbecue and it's like, fuck you, I'm doing my own.
Yeah. But then if you do your own afterward, does it smell as good? That's a different question.
I don't think it does.
I think it does.
Okay. Contentious. We're divided on that one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Haven't done a barbecue for a while. The weather's starting to look a bit more like it, so might have to rectify that.
Yeah. How you been, man?
Yeah, good. Just so there's a comment just come through. But before I get to that, no, everything's good. I've been off work for the last couple of days. I think with everyone else and everything else going on at the moment, it's a bit of a downturn for a lot of people and a lot of things. I'll be back at work next week in theory, so that'll be good. But for now, I've just managed to enjoy a couple of, I guess, a little bit of downtime, not a lot. Been still working hard behind the scenes, getting a lot of things organized and lined up and reviews and that prepped and ready to go. Setting things up for our Van Halen Revisited special, which we'll film in a couple of weeks, but will air at the end of the month. Just around that, because no one knows, it's going with the Antenna Awards at the moment, so there's a lot of back and forth, all that sort of stuff, just getting things pre-filmed and whatever else, I don't know, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, everything's good overall. There's nothing to complain about. Everything's, a couple of quieter days, not a bad thing, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, especially with the news breaking that we've all been a bit disappointed by, I think, this week. But hopefully we can get out of this whole mess sooner rather than later with a different kind of a plan. So let's see what happens. But all in all, life is good. Cannot complain. Doing pretty well. Darren jumped in to say, we can recap this from every live stream. Dave's life equals music, wrestling, barbecue. Not bad. So
yeah.
There is a theme. There is definitely a theme, Dave.
And horror movies.
Horror, yeah, that's the other one for you as well. Yeah, that's it. And the funny thing is that Nudes has just put that up there as well. Don't forget the horror movie. So that's literally just come up as you said that too. So the audience here know you a little bit too well. Sumaleth over on YouTube's giving us the horn, so thanks for jumping in again. Good to see you over on YouTube there. And Adam Long has gone living the dream, and that is, aren't we all in the current state of affairs? All right. Keep your comments coming. Feel free to jump in with whatever you want to say, whenever you want to say it. We'll try and get to everyone if we can. But let's get into the first little stab at the hard rock happenings. I've selected a few little random pieces of interesting conversational points. First up is that apparently Bruce Dickinson wants to have a lightsaber fight on stage with Eddie. So that's a thing. Apparently he got inspired because he does the fencing stuff. Over in the European fencing brigades, have actually made it so that the lightsaber fencing, they've got actual things that are hard enough they can whack the crap out of it. It doesn't break, it stays lit up and does all the things. And they actually have legitimized it as part of the tournaments over there. So he's seen that they've actually got legitimate lightsaber fights. And he loves it and wants to do one on the stage show with Eddie. So that'd be a bit interesting. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, when you put this
I don't know
on
if
the
it
list,
works
I had
with
to
his.
Google it because I'd never heard of it.
What was that, Dave?
I'd never heard of this story, so as soon as you put it on the list, I had to go and Google and say, what the hell is he thinking? But yeah, as you said, it's part of the fencing thing, so it'd be cool to see him on stage fighting Eddie. Would have been cool in the Somewhere in Time set as well, the whole futuristic thing.
But
yeah, they can pull it off, it'd be cool.
What about you, Tim? It's a different one.
Yeah, I don't know how this fits with this Dymo theme that they've got going on for the next album.
Yeah. Like
apparently,
but they're gone.
Eddie committing seppuku would be much cooler.
Actually, that would be interesting. Imagine if he did
just Eddie. Yeah, Eddie slicing his bowels open.
But the thing is, right, if you flip that and go to the horror side of things, he slices himself open, and then a newer appearance of the next generation of Eddie comes out, like a weird.
Yeah, something like that. Like, in a way, I was like, I hope they don't do this. It's just going to be cheesy and corny and look like shit. But I mean, like, I've seen Iron Maiden live a lot, and I love Iron Maiden. But let's be honest, it is a little bit cheesy and corny. So, yeah.
It's something definitely a bit different.
To be honest, if Bruce did it live, like, I'd probably pop for it. So,
I think that if we get
it's
to
one thing, talking about it. It's another thing seeing it.
Yeah, that's true. I think we'd all go a little bit nuts if we're able to get there and enjoy it in the moment like we used to do, and then you see him pull out some fancy fucking lightsaber and start just whacking it at Eddie with this thing. That'd be pretty fun.
And the other thing is too, like, they're not going to play to a click or anything like that.
No.
So I would love to see them try to time like a sound effects with it. Because it's just going to be way off. It's going to be way off.
I don't know. If you stuff like a piezo or something on the actual lightsaber itself, it might work. It might work. If you have a little piezo mic, just something that it only needs to capture a little bit of the sound.
That's true. Well, we'll see how we go.
Yeah, just news coming with Bruce. I am your father. So just to really ham it up some more. That would be pretty. If you got an Eddie dialogue going with a whole, and pretending to cut the hand off and all that kind of crap, it would be pretty funny to see something really, really just ham. If you're gonna ham it up,
it'd be like You Are the Children of the Damned or something.
Yeah, well, that's a good little crossover. Not bad. Sally's jumped in to say, "Hey guys, so good to see you here. Thanks for coming in again, Sally." All right. So for the next little bit of the tidbits that are happening for this particular episode, Dave Ellison has dropped a teaser for a project or something called The Lucid.
Yeah, I'll bet he has.
Well, he's revealing very subtly this time around versus other reveals he's done in the past. So apparently there'll be more information available on September the 8th, which is what the teaser is all about. Apparently there is a hard rock sort of outfit is the word getting around at the moment. Or, I don't know if you guys are digging on this and support it up.
The drummer is a Fear Factory drummer who's not Anders Herrera.
Okay.
So it's just probably like a Fear Factory drummer from who would have done like a session with them or something.
Okay.
And I'm not sure who the other two guys are.
Looks like vocalist Vinny Dombrowski from Sponge, guitarist Drew Fortier, and Mike Heller was the drummer from Raven and Fear Factory.
Look, I'm going to make a prediction that this goes nowhere.
Okay. Okay.
I know
What makes you think that?
I know that's not a very bold prediction, but like, I think this is the most we're going to hear about it.
Okay. All right. We'll see if we get around to reviewing it or not. Now that it's out there. So,
it's out there, all right.
Okay, there's a lot of things out there from Dave at the moment. So speaking of Dave's and putting things out there, what do you think of it all?
Yeah, every time David Ellison puts something out there and is ready for a new release, I fucking quiver in my boots. I've seen enough shit from him. Apart from that, I do actually like his stuff as a musician, so if I can get past all the bad jokes about him, I might actually give this a listen. The project he did a little while ago, Altitudes and Attitudes, that was pretty cool with Frank Bello. So I like that. So that was more rock than metal. So this could be worth a listen if it goes anywhere. But yeah, it doesn't rock my world or anything. I'm just like, oh, David Ellison, I can't get past the jokes.
Yeah. No, for me, it's more rock than metal is the outlook, and I'm okay with that. I think he's just going to be very, very selective about the song titles. Because if he gets those wrong, it'll be interesting to see what people do with this. So it's the whole thing about what you name your baby. Like, this is going to be something that if he puts that wrong, it'll become
even then, like,
yeah,
this is going to be one where like this needs to be a 10 out of 10 album for anyone to even give it a worth of anything. Right?
Yeah,
and it'll be called Unplugged.
I'd wager that it's not going to be. It's much more likely to not be than it is. So I think this is,
yeah.
Because all the headlines I saw about it were like, "Oh, okay, he's releasing an album. Strange." so
it's not that strange.
It's not that strange he's done in the past, but I mean,
yeah,
it is strange considering the circumstances.
Release was strange.
Yeah, but I mean, if Marilyn Manson released a new album now, we'd all go, "Huh, cool."
Oh.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's odd timing considering.
Yeah, the timing is interesting. So soon after, I don't think he's resolved his actual pursuit of charges.
No, he's not.
So it's sort of like okay.
they're still in the accuse and counter accuse stage where
Oh, well, let's watch this space like everything else. Just don't watch too closely and don't jump into the private streams is what I would suggest in that regard. Unless that is your thing, of course, then go by all means, go nuts. So there we go.
Listening party.
Yeah. Just not a live stream listening party. That could be dangerous. So,
he really likes his album.
Oh, God, okay. The jokes are already starting. This is the danger. It's going to run the whole thing. Helen's gone in to say, greeting, chaps. So good to see you here. Thanks for coming in and saying hi with us. Darren Humphrey's come in with a comment saying Metal Allegiance is good, and that's true. A lot of people did like that. But Sally went on with the, it needs serious cred for people to listen more than once or twice, and that it's going to need to.
Yeah. Well, think about how hard it was for the Fear Factory album to get traction, right?
And that was a good album.
And all that, and the only thing wrong with them was some internal fighting.
Yeah, this is worse.
Yeah, and this is worse, and it's an album with
relative unknown comparison.
Yeah, like there's nobody really playing on here, so
we'll see what happens. I guess we'll know more in about a week or so. We'll see what I don't know if it's, I think it might be the first single is dropping then is the word I'm getting about it, but we'll see what happens. Ernie's jumped in and said, cheers, guys, for heads up about the Quicksand release. Amazing album. Yes, we all enjoyed that one a fair bit, so I'm glad you got to enjoy that one. Cheers for checking it out. And Dean's jumped in now saying, hey, Legends, hope all is well. So, yes, we're all keeping well. Hope you are too there, buddy. All right, our final bit of news for the Hard Rock Happenings is something a bit more local. The Cherry Bar and the Ugly Kings have teamed up for Father's Day this coming weekend. So they're delivering on Friday and Saturday. I think you can get same-day delivery if you order before 2 p.m. It's the usual stuff from Cherry Bar. If you go to their store and that, or go check their socials, there's all the links you need. They're doing things like home delivering cocktails and beer and whatever else you want. There's a whole lot of stuff there. But they're also, as part of these packages, they've got copies of things like the coloured vinyl from the Ugly Kings' new album, which is fantastic. If you haven't checked it out, then go and do so. And there's another one in there as well. So there's a few little bits and pieces. So what have I got here? So you get, drinks and chips and some of that, like that's all fun and games. But then you got coloured vinyl, gold or green from the Ugly Kings' Strange Times album. Then you got numbered and signed red splatter vinyl of the Of Sins album. Then there's one special coloured vinyl of Perceptions from Henny J. There's other bits and pieces in there as well. So there's a whole lot of stuff there. So if you go and check out the Cherry Bar socials, I'm not sure if it's on the Ugly King socials, but yeah, check out Cherry Bar socials. And if you're keen on that sort of stuff, a last-minute gift for someone in your life that, I don't know, you want to give something to on Father's Day, then by all means, going on. Helen's jumped in with a conversation here saying, sponsorship, I'm hearing. Yeah, no, not from Cherry Bar, not for us, unfortunately. No, that's not happening for us at all. But I wanted to share this one because I just thought it was a cool initiative for a local band and a venue to start doing this sort of stuff, and it's a good way to try and do things. Tim, what do you think of it?
Yeah, it's a good idea. This is one of those win-win situations for all involved. So credit to them, and I hope it's a success for everyone involved.
What about you, Dave?
Yeah, free for free. I think it's a great idea. Great band to do it because Ugly Kings always play Cherry Bar and seem to have a good relationship with them. So a good band and good venue to pair up and do something for Father's Day.
Yep.
Good all around.
Cool. All right. Yeah, just thought I'd give it one a quick plug in there. It's a local thing, and it's only on Friday and Saturday, I think. So if you want to get onto that, then you might want to move relatively quickly. I don't know what's going to happen after Father's Day on Sunday, so we'll see what happens with all that sort of stuff. All right, that's some fun, lighthearted stuff. Let's get on to a bit more. We're actually going to do a proper hot topic tonight, not one of the games. We're going to have a bit of a chat, and this is to do with things. We had a bit of a chat behind the scenes, which no one sees but us. But just with Paul Stanley from Kiss got COVID. Now Gene Simmons got COVID, and Corey Taylor got COVID. There's a whole lot. Jonathan Davis from Korn is performing on stage, even like he's performing in a chair and in between songs, getting like oxygen to help him keep upright and things like that as well. So it's pretty intense what's happening overseas at the moment in terms of going and seeing live music and that sort of stuff. So we had a bit of a back and forth behind the scenes about, the merits of touring and what we sort of think about the way it's playing out, watching it from afar at the moment. Dave, you got anything you want to sort of launch us off with?
Yeah, I'll start with, Korn. And thinking back 20 years ago, they're one of the most energetic new metal bands around. And seeing Jonathan Davis having to perform in the chair just really hits home just how fucked up this thing actually is. Because, he's recovered from it, but he's still having long-term effects from it. And got to admire him for trying to get back out there and get back to normal, but he must be playing hell on his body. And, plus, from the other perspective, if you pay to see a Korn show, you want to see the members performing as you would want them to. So it's kind of, do you want to see bands less than what they could be, or do you just happy to be going to live music these days? And also, you got a concert that you're looking forward to, and then at the last moment it has to be cancelled because somebody in the crew or on bands have been infected with COVID. So, what do? You want to have things to look forward to. You want to get back to some form of new normality, but then at the same time, I think you have to be prepared and be flexible with what could throw a spanner into the works, because nothing is going to be normal again for quite a few years, I think. And, it's cool that Kiss were getting back out there. I mean, if they managed to come back over here, if Guns N' Roses managed to come over here, I'd go. But I'm fully vaccinated. Hopefully they have the whole, you can't go unless you are fully vaccinated. I know there's a whole discussion about that, but I'd like to play it safe. And personally, if that wasn't, I probably wouldn't go. But, you can be as careful as possible, because we're doing the behind the glass screen from the meet and greets. Everyone in their crew is all living in a bubble. The Guns N' Roses crew all very, very isolated, and still it manages to get through. And, what do you do?
It is an interesting one. Tim, what about you?
Yeah, I got a lot to say.
Okay. I figured you might.
Okay, look. When we view it from the outside, as much like viewing Australia, is that we're even more so with the United States. It's a big country, the size of Australia, roughly geographically, with 350 million people.
Yep.
And when that happens, you can't view the entire country as one monolithic culture. You know, there's many pockets of cultures throughout things like that.
Yep.
And the other question is, the other thing that I got to say is before I get started is, I mean, people can have agendas, but it's not really an agenda when there's, a fact to back it up. And I mean, the fact is, at the moment, like with the US, I think 99% of the people in ICU are unvaccinated.
Yeah.
We had Lollapalooza Festival a month ago where you had you had to be vaccinated to get in, and they had no cases whatsoever.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because you've got places like Chicago and California and New York that are being very strict on things, and then places in the US that are being not so strict on things.
Yeah,
and these places are
paying the
price for it, yeah. And a few weeks ago, we made fun of it here on the show about Limp Bizkit cancelling their tour, and it was like, wow, Fred Durst is making a mature adult decision. And Nine Inch Nails have cancelled their tour because they're saying, it's unsafe. And the fact is, it is unsafe to tour for a lot of these cities. And you say people can say what they want about people having agendas and whatnot, but the fact is, vaccinations work, as we saw with Lollapalooza and a bunch of the other cities. As far as Jonathan Davis goes, like, the guy shouldn't be performing. I don't know what he's doing.
That's a risky one, that one. Yeah,
Keith Lee. You guys know Keith Lee, the wrestler. So he had COVID. Did you hear his story?
No, I didn't know about it.
So he had COVID, came back, had a match, got gassed out, went back to the doctor. As it turns out, he had a massively enlarged heart from COVID.
Wow.
And doctors have told him, like, dude, you got light walking to do. Anything harder than that, you're going to die.
Jesus.
You're going to have a heart attack.
Yeah.
So that's why he was out for so long. And if Jonathan Davis can't stand up and he's needing oxygen mid-song to perform, like, that guy needs to be a doctor. And I'm not a doctor. However, I'm not an idiot either.
Yeah.
So, look. Yeah. I understand we all want to get our hopes up and we all want to do things, but
that's the hard part.
We're better off not lying to ourselves and being honest with ourselves and doing the right thing, even if that means taking. Because realistically, if we all did this properly, we would be right in 3 months. It's just getting people to do it properly.
Yeah, well, that's the goal.
This should have been realistic. This should have been resolved in May.
Well, yeah. Yes, definitely. For mine, it is a thing, like, there's valid points all around, because Kiss, I don't know why Kiss would do it, because Kiss sure as shit don't need the money. They can, and the profiles that we understand, like, not a doctor at all, but from what you understand about the risk profiles and that, they're much more at risk than others are. If they wanted to do it, okay, cool, and they can if they want to, and so on and so forth. And people can go and attend those things. Everyone can do what they want in that regard. It's a really tough one, though, because if you, like, we're seeing it now with how many cancellations. Like, I think Massive just cancelled their Australian dates, or their current tour just today. So even the smaller bands are cancelling shows, bigger bands are cancelling shows. This whole thing is so uncertain that even if there are a lot of venues or promoters currently going, we're going to tour this in May 2022, and I'm like, I don't trust it. And it's not that I don't trust the health advice. I don't trust it's going to actually happen.
Yeah.
it's just that I have no faith as a consumer that it's actually going to go ahead.
And just to point out too, like when everybody there is vaccinated, you're much less likely to get it. So you can get COVID when you are vaccinated, but if only 50% of the audience is vaccinated, you are more likely to get a breakthrough infection.
Yeah, and that's
which is just how things happen. And the other thing is too, I mean, we're all saying, 80% of adults is still only like 55% of the total population.
Got to think about the kids that have to be looked after by sick parents. That's
exactly. So
there's a lot of things to work out, but when it comes, so I don't know why Kiss did it. Like I said, I don't think they're under any pressure financially. They've all made their money. Other bands, I can sympathize. I said it in the chat a while ago. There'd be a lot of pressure from labels to get out there and start making some money and all sorts of stuff on contract obligations. The business side of this hasn't stopped turning. And so there'll be a lot of pressure being put on bands. And I have a complete empathy in that regard as well. Like, this can't be easy. Fans want to go out and see stuff. People are going to put up money to go and see it. There's profit to be made, and you'll take it, you'll roll the dice. So I do empathize with it. I just, as a consumer myself, I have no faith in it right now. And I think that when it comes to Jonathan Davis, it's just, if you're putting your own health at risk, like he said something about he doesn't want to cancel the shows and that. Like, if you fall over really fucked after this, how long do you perform after? Long-term thinking is more important than ever before. I think now we went away with things and got away with it for so long and all sort of stuff, and life was good and it will be good again. It's just that I think we've got to just make sure we take the baby steps.
That's the important thing. That's the important thing to remember. Is like, I mean, it will be good again.
Yeah, I have faith in that.
It's a couple of years in, hopefully, an 80-something year life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where,
it's a pain in the ass. Don't get it wrong. I mean, we've all been hurt by it.
Yeah, every single one has suffered in so much.
But there's the more we lie to ourselves about it, the longer it can take.
I don't know what's going to happen anywhere in anything, but I just think that also if you're going to pay $150 roughly to go and see a band, you're going to want to see them at their peak. You're not going to want to see a band, for all, because even then, like the experience, if you've, I don't know, we've seen all the photos before, but they have people in different like cots and stuff like that. You can only go in this space and stuff, and we want the real experience. You know what I mean? Don't want to go in cars. We won't actually have the whole full-on arena experience. We want to have festivals. There's some new festival been announced, which we'll talk about another time, but that's for next year. I'm like, but we just don't know yet, and I just think it's a bit silly to ask people to. Just all around, it's a lot of money to fork out when people haven't got enough to go around because of all the financial impact. When they do go out, and then some people get sick and it gets worse, and I don't know, bit of a mess. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Not a lot of comments on this one. Sally jumped in to say, Jonathan Davis, in my opinion, is grandstanding and putting his life at risk. He should stop. I understand the dedication to fans, but this is obtuse, and that's a fair point there, I think there. And Helen also chimed in saying it's hard to see legends not performing at their peak, which I think, is a big thing too. Like, if you want value for money,
that's the thing. Sometimes we forget these people are human.
Yeah, they're not machines.
Yeah. No.
Especially vocalists. Like, vocalists require their body. It doesn't work without it. Like, everyone needs their body, but vocalists, it is their entire instrument. Okay, man. We'll get to your fucking little thing later on. Anyway, one last one. Helen also said, I'm a big believer in choice. However, the division amongst family and friends is creating a big fallout. And I think that is going to be more of a concern for longer term to come than a couple of years of this.
Yeah, look.
But we'll see what happens in that space.
Hey, unfortunately, there's, it's only one way.
That's it. Anyway, let's get on to some fun stuff. That's a pretty morbid kind of a topic, unfortunately, but I did want to touch on it because it was a big conversation between us behind the scenes. We had a lot of different opinions because we have people that are disagreeing with what we were saying behind the scenes. So not everyone's here with us tonight. So yeah, feel free to disagree and give us your thoughts as well, or if you agree, then share those thoughts. And if you're watching live or tuning in later on, but we'll move on, have some fun. Let's get on to our first review. Let's talk about some music now, some actual music that we can all check out, listen to, and enjoy. So the first artist we're going to talk about tonight is a little band called The Bronx. They've dropped a new album. The reference track, Tim wanted this one. The reference track is Peace Pipe. So the link is there in the description, in the post, or in the comments now. It's the Bronx with Peace Pipe. That's what you're looking for to check out for what we're going to talk about now. So without any further ado, this is the Bronx with Bronx 6, 11 tracks for 36 minutes. The 6th studio album from the American band released August 2021 via Cooking Vinyl. Produced by Joe Barresi. 5 singles have been released, including White Shadow and Super Bloom. A band we haven't paid a heap of attention to on the show over the years. The hype was pretty big in 2017, though, for 5, which I remember that. The band started out in 2002, have a mariachi alter ego called Mariachi El Bronx. And this is the band's first album with former Queens of the Stone Age drummer Joey Castillo, who replaced David Hidalgo Jr., although he is still involved in the mariachi side of things. So make of that what you will. Let's go to you first, Tim. Let's have the fun stuff. Go on.
I love this album so much. I love the Bronx. I love this album. It's just very uncomplicated. It's the same 4 chords for 35 minutes, and it's fucking awesome. Very relatable songs, very fun songs, just energy that blasts off the speakers. And in kind of a thrashy punk kind of vibe. And it's great.
So that
and
feel.
Very uncomplicated, very unpretentious, and just good time music. Music that, like, I first listened to this when I was getting ready for work, and it was over before I was done.
Yeah.
Like, this is that kind of an album. You can just put this on whenever you want to and have a good time with it. It is fantastic. Everybody, I think everybody should listen to this. But look, if you're after, wonderful musicianship, then you're probably not going to get it. But
we're going to go from this.
Look, if you're after something just that you can just put on and enjoy, then by all means, you should put this on, because I think it's fucking awesome. It's 9 out of 10, and Jack of all trades is my highlight.
All right, nice. All right, off to a good start. Dave, you going to follow it up?
Yeah, I am. 6 albums. Cool. I haven't heard the band at all, so I've somehow missed this. But that's a shame, because these guys are cool.
Nice.
Hard-hitting, high-energy rock and roll. They're not reinventing the wheel or anything like that. They're just focusing on writing fun songs, and they can certainly play. You can be tapping along to these songs pretty quickly. They're easily earworms, easily infectious. The guitar tone is great, and I like, sometimes he's just got that wah pedal on, but he's not rocking it back and forth. He's just got that effect to give a little bit of extra.
Sitting in the sweet spot.
Yeah, it's just fucking dialed in, and it's beautiful. The singer actually reminds me of Josh Todd from Buckcherry. So if you like Buckcherry,
you got that as well.
Yeah,
I got that too. Yep,
got that tone. The song "Breaking News" got a real hardcore punk element to it. They stepped up a notch for that song, but fuck, there was a cool guitar solo on that. You don't really hear many guitar solos for that style of music. I'm like, that's what I want. That would make hardcore punk a lot more easier for me to listen to if people could actually knock a solo out like that. Fuck, that was cool. Lyrically, these guys have a lot to say. The guys writing these songs is obviously watching the world around him, and he can interpret his thoughts into some interesting songs. So you can put it on in the background. It's just a fun, dumb listen. Or you can actually spend some time consciously listening to what he's about. I mean, they're not all serious, but there's some elements there that just make you think, wonder what happened in his life to make him think that.
Yeah.
But I'm with Tim. You should listen to this album. It's definitely worth your time. Give it 8 out of 10. White Shadow, Peace Pipe, Mexican Summer, Breaking News, and Jack of all trades are my standouts.
Cool. Well, let's go with 3 for 3. I enjoyed this one a lot as well. I got, there's the punk element, but I also got the Josh Todd and the Conflict, that kind of urban vibe we referenced when we listened to that album. It's got a bit of that associated with this one too. I love the energy on this one. Great riffs. The spacing used for impact was fantastic on it. Then, like Dave was saying, when they broke out the lead work, that was really nice and tasty on this one too. Like it just fit in to that frantic kind of vibe. It just knew how to cut things off really nicely. It was really well done. I thought there was some punch in the vocals, the delivery with that too, and the storytelling side was well done, as was referenced before. I think the gang vocals really added some oomph to this too, which is really cool. It isn't all balls to the wall. It is, up tempo for a lot of it, but it isn't all that way. There are some really nice tempo and vibe changes across this one. The album takes a breath without actually stopping. If you listen to the actual space in between tracks, there's no breath there, but they just know how to just dial it back just enough to let you have a breath for a second, then you're back into it again. Flies by. It's got a hefty punch, but it's a lot of fun too, which is cool. I think Watering the Wall, that moment there was a really nice upbeat song after the 1-2 punch sort of thing. So the first couple of tracks really sort of come in and hit you hard, and that one sort of is a bit more upbeat, a different delivery in the mood of it all. But also there were little things in the production of this one too. Like there was the cymbals at the end of almost every track were allowed to ring out really nicely. It was just a really nice trick on this. No fade outs. It was just here's a cymbal, bang, and then it goes out. It was just allowed to ring out. I thought the mix was great. Everything was clear, but it was punchy. Plenty of heat and crunch to it. No tricks, but really well balanced. But there is some nice subtle panning on the flip side of that too. It brought the space to this mix, which is a nice way to to give it more breath, because the trick is normally that, a lot of these bands go for really dense and hard-hitting sounds. These guys actually spaced it out really nicely, and that actually gave it more impact for mine. Everything was highlighted nicely between the drums and the guitar in particular. There's some nice rock radio stuff in here, like Peace Pipe, which is the reference track. That almost brings that sort of modern-day punk element to this one. But there's also some dual guitar work in this that put me in a little bit of mind of Thin Lizzy to a little bit. And, this whole thing is just really, really infectious. It's a lot of fun. Great use of vibe and hooks on this one too. I like the play on the words with the up high, high five kind of thing. The too low, down low, too slow kind of thing. That word play was really clever. Well done. It's the sort of stuff that you'd be singing along to, bopping along to in no time at all. But I thought that with the mariachi side of this band, the song Mexican Summer was a nice little nod to that side of what they do as well. There's a cool little flavor change toward the back end of the album. Good album craft, more diverse than you think, but it is still pretty much an upbeat album that's going to fly by. It's just over half an hour and it goes real quick. Well worth the time. Check it out. A lot of fun. 8.5 out of 10 from me. I picked Super Bloom, Jack of All Trades, and High Five for my standouts on this one. Got some comments here. So going back to the hot topic a second ago, just quickly, Lee McDonald says, "Let's hope Vincent doesn't contract COVID. Poor guy can't sing to begin with." So there we go. Comment of the night so far, but yeah, okay. Oh wow, kickstart my heart in a different way entirely. Gear from overseas, our good friend from Viking Queen has gone. Hello, my Vikings, from a friend from Norway and Viking Queen, you rock. So good to have you here with us once again. Good regular from overseas. Helen's gone, geez, Tim's on a roll, bloody good stuff. And Sally also said, love Tim's review. So Tim's getting the love tonight. And in regard to the reference track, Tony said, good track. That only question is, do you get to the Jimmy Barnes school of how to hold a microphone? Well, yeah, a lot of these crossover bands.
Hey, I'll tell you what, man.
Yeah.
I've who's feeding back?
I can hear it too. I'm feeding back.
I'd say Jimmy's a really underrated singer.
Yeah, this is true.
He's gotten really good. But what I was going to say was that this is proof too that in order to make an album, you don't have to make 60 minutes of music just for the sake of making 60 minutes of music. If you're feeling it, that's it. Get out and dodge. It's better to leave wanting more than overstay your welcome.
That's true. I think it's a really. What I like about it, was the fun side of it, just in how infectious it is. Not a hook sense per se, but just how much fun you have listening to it. It's that sort of one you put it like. I can imagine you put it on the morning, like Tim was saying he did. It'll get you going for the day. It'll get you pumped up.
Yeah,
it's a start to the day kind of record. Bit of bite to it though. Like Dave said, there's a bit of bite in this and lyrical content too. So yeah, check it out. It's a good one to spend some time with. All right. As always now with these shows, we're going to go through some major gear changes, and we're about to do that right now. This is from one extreme to the next. The band is Leprous. The reference track is Nighttime Disguise. It's in the post, it's in the description, it's in the comments. Now, that's your reference track. It is the band Leprous, Leprous, and the song is Nighttime Disguise. That is your reference track for this one. Let's get into this. It's going to be a bit different this time around. So this is Leprous with Aphelion. 10 tracks, 56 minutes. The 7th studio album of the Norwegian band, released August 2021 via Inside Out Music. Produced by vocalist and principal songwriter Einar Solberg with David Castillo. Mixed by Adam Noble. This was recorded at 3 studios across Sweden and Norway. 3 singles have been released, including Castaway Angels and Running Low. This is a band we've not spent a lot of time on, but when we were talking about this one, Nick behind the scenes was saying he wanted to really make sure we gave this one a spin to check it out, and it's also the band's 20th anniversary this year as well. So, Dave, let's go to you first.
Yeah, I've never heard of the band, so I had no idea what to expect. flicked through on Spotify and saw they're from Norway. So I'm thinking, okay, we're going to get some black metal. This ain't black metal. This is not black metal. Right from the opening moment of this album, you can tell there's going to be a lot going on throughout this. It opens with this really ominous musical intro, very slow. Then the vocals come in, and the guy got a hell of a voice. And then we're treated to about over an hour's worth of prog rock. Lots of impressive composition, lots of stuff that you have to focus on very, very carefully. The use of violin. No, this is something you need to focus on if you want to fully enjoy it. The use of violins in the song Running Low were a really interesting touch. They're done in a haunting and almost unsteadying, reminding me of Psycho in a little way, but a very slow Psycho. It's like I'm sneaking up and you could run away if you wanted to, but I want to stab you. I like how they use the subtle textures within the songs to slowly develop and take the listener from one section to the other. It starts off mellow, and then something starts to creep in, and then that will become the next thing that takes you to the next place. You have to be patient in some places. I mean, like I said, this is prog rock. This is not prog metal. You're not going to get the breakneck tempo. Not going to get the odd time signature shifts, but it's very progressive in the rock side of things. Some slow parts can drag on, but if you are fully immersed in what they're doing, it will pay off eventually if you're patient. I'm really not sure if this is a concept album, but it kind of unfolds like a novel, and I'm sure there's running themes. I really didn't dive too deep into the lyrical themes on this, but you can tell there's a lot in it. A song like Nightmare Disguise is a good example of how you start out quiet and you build up to that dramatic ending. I think it goes for about 7 minutes, and that was really well structured. Could be thinking man's metal. I mean, it's definitely not background music. It's something you do have to follow along, as I said a few times. If you like all the complex song structures and thought-provoking lyrics, then you'll probably enjoy this. It's an interesting one, a little bit too mellow for my taste, but I enjoyed listening to it. Nice to hear a band doing something different. It's certainly unique. Overall, gave it 8 out of 10. Running Low, Silent Revelation, and Nightmare Disguise were my standouts.
All right, cool. So, Tim, how'd you go with this one?
Yeah, this is interesting. I think this is well worth it for everybody to listen to, although I think this is probably going to be much more niche than the previous album.
Yeah, definitely.
But the reason why I do think it's worthwhile listening to is, even though it might not be everyone's cup of tea, I don't think anyone can doubt that for what it is, it's incredibly well executed.
Yeah, that's a thing.
The playing is phenomenal. Recording's fantastic. The drums sound spectacular. And the composition is great, and everything is they leave themselves a lot of room to go. So they really, when they pull it back, they really pull it back, and then when they go, they kind of leave you wanting a little bit more, and then take it away, and then probably give you just that tiny bit more and take it away. And it really, that's what kind of keeps it interesting for me, is that they just kind of tease you a little and then back off slightly, which is, it makes it an interesting listen.
Yep.
Like, it's just funny listening to this, straight after listening to the Bronx though, because it's like it is a totally different philosophy on what music is, whereas is it dumb fun, or is it,
art?
Is it art? And this is very much in the art rock side of things. And if you're into that kind of thing, and if you're into, there's a lot of I got a lot of like 60s like experimental jazz kind of vibes from this, especially from the drums.
Yeah.
So if you're into that kind of thing, if you're into avant-garde music, then this is more of that kind of a thing through a rock lens. If you're wanting, again, 4 chords and dumb fun, then it's probably not going to be for you. But I do think it is worth listening to again, just because it's so spectacularly well executed. Yeah. So Silent Revolution is my highlight, and again, 8 out of 10. And I'm glad I listened to it.
Yeah. It's another 3 for 3. I did I did enjoy listening to it, although I could also understand just as well how people might not get into this one. It's all like it is worth listening to for the execution line. The execution is fucking stunning on this album. The production is beautiful on this. I loved how theatrical it was. The song structures on this one, lots of flavors between the synth, the genuine string instruments, those playing off each other on this one. And there's like harmony, double tracking. There's a lot going on in this one that you need to sit down with this and really take the time to really, really let this one wash over you. I tried this one as a casual listen in the background, and it doesn't work in that context. This is one you got to sit down with. And if you had, it's one of those ones where I can imagine the product. I haven't got the product. We just did it on Spotify. But this is one of those ones where you want to sit through with like a booklet which has artwork and lyrics and that sort of stuff to really immerse yourself in this kind of a project. It's a lot of atmosphere, more atmosphere than guitar, which is where it becomes more of a art rock or progressive rock than metal kind of a thing. The vocal and the emotive context of this is what's really the riveting part. The vocal on this kind of put me in mind of Justin Hawkins performing prog rock. So if you've got Justin Hawkins from Darkness doing full-on, art prog rock, this would be kind of the vocal. Really up there stuff, but there's some really nice mellow tones in there too. Goes all over the joint. But the ebb and swell, the performances on this one, you can't fault any of that sort of stuff. And like I was saying, the mix added to the drama being really vibrant and warm. And for this sort of stuff, a lot of it comes across as clinical. This one had a really warm and natural feel to it. It didn't feel overly processed, or it felt like you're not listening to a live take, but you could imagine this being really organic. It felt real when you're listening to it, not overly processed. I did think that the flip side or the downside to it was I got a bit too self-indulgent. They did things in 6 or 7 minutes or more that could have been done in about 4 minutes. They did the ebb and the swell. They went a bit too far into it. They wanted to sort of really stretch out and tease things a bit too much. They could have cut out some midsection on this one, I think, to make it a bit more dynamic overall. But that said, it flows really nicely at the same time. So it's hard to, highlight which particular part you'd pick out. It just got a little bit sort of repetitive at times for me. But that's a pretty small critique. It's just one of those ones where everyone should listen to it, like I think Tim said it. Everyone should listen to it, but it's going to be more niche. So I think this is definitely one to check out. The real aggression on this comes in the very last moment of the album. That last scream is about the only moment of genuine aggression you get on this one. But it is very beautiful, very well.
Yeah, that's your payoff.
That is, yeah, and that's true. That's your final moment. So it is worth sitting through and going with it if you're into this sort of stuff. If you're not into it, it's not going to change your mind. But if this sort of stuff gets your attention, it's going to really reward you for that sort of stuff. For me, it's a good album, well worth checking out. 8 out of 10. Silhouette, The Silent Revelation, and On Hold were my standouts on that one. Some comments here. So going back to the
I'll say it's like imagine the Tool album, but not as more of a rock album. The last Tool album, but more of a rock album. It's the same. It's that kind of formula.
Yeah, I did think about that as well, where it just didn't have quite the same punch and dynamics that Tool.
That's what I mean. It's the rock version of that album.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Still, none of these are critiques. It's actually a stunningly good album. The execution alone makes it worth checking out. It's just so fucking well done. It's just going to be about the music, whether it grabs you or not. Jumping back to the comments, going back to the Jimmy Barnes stuff, Sally said, adore Jimmy, can't throw shade at Jimmy without me wanting to defend him. He was such an inspiration when I started to sing, so that's pretty cool there. Nicely put. Our good friend Jeff on YouTube, good to see you here. He's gone, hi lads, hope all are well. Sad to hear about Stephen Pearcy and Gene Simmons. Let's hope to a full recovery. Yeah, Stephen Pearcy has a cancer battle going on, so that's a bit of news there. So yes, best wishes to all involved. And on the actual album there, Helen has said, discombobulated, yet I feel they are more artistic and a showpiece more than a casual listen. And that's what we've highlighted there. It is very, sit down with this one. This is one of those headphone albums or dark room with the speakers full bore kind of records.
Have a stiff drink.
Yeah. Sit back with this one. You're going to want to take some time to take this one in.
Stiff drink, where
the Bronx will get you up and moving, this one will make you sort of stop and think for a minute. That's a different worlds entirely in this one. And speaking of different worlds, let's move on to our main event of the evening, which is another different world of its own. And this band have created a world of their own. This is the Rolling Stones. So yeah, Dave's a big fan here. So we're going to go to the Rolling Stones. The reference track, if you haven't heard it, I don't know how the fuck you've not heard this song, but the reference track is Brown Sugar. You have to have heard that song, seriously. But anyway, that's the reference track. It's in the link for it is in the description or in the comments or in the post, wherever it's there if you don't check it out. So that's your reference track. The Rolling Stones, Brown Sugar. That is what you're checking out because we are going to talk about now. The main event for this evening is the Rolling Stones, Sticky Fingers, 10 tracks, 46 minutes, the 9th British and 11th American studio album from the English band, released April 1971 via their own label, Rolling Stones Records. Produced by Jimmy Miller at 3 studios in the US and UK. 2 singles were released in Brown Sugar and Wild Horses. This album went to #1 all over the place, including here in Australia, the UK and US. It's been certified gold in both Australia and France, silver in Norway, platinum in the UK, 3 times platinum in the US. We've never done a special on the Rolling Stones and not covered a lot of their work over the years either. We figured it was high time to go and revisit this classic album that's turning 50 this year because Charlie Watts obviously and tragically recently passed away. So I figured we'd do this one as a little bit of a nod to him. So Tim, how about you take the first cow off the rank with this?
Okay. First of all, I was very saddened by Charlie's death, actually.
Yeah.
He was the patron saint of drummers everywhere.
Yeah. Yep.
But look, and I think if we're going to talk about the Rolling Stones, actually, this is probably the perfect album
Okay.
because this is where they've still got one foot in the R&B, but they are becoming more of that pop band.
Yeah. Yep.
And so this is where you do have a nice cross section of everything in between. Obviously, like you said, everybody does heard Brown Sugar, but we also when it comes to the instantly recognizable Rolling Stones songs, they're not quite at that point yet, but they're all still at that that early Keith grunge.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. This album contains a few of my favorite things, actually, which is Keith Richards' guitar tone. I think this is one of the finest guitar tones ever recorded.
Nice. Yes. Very good.
This is that. It is that classic. How do you get a Fender amp to drive? You just turn the volume up, and then turn the volume up on the guitar, and then your clean turn is you just back off the volume on the guitar, and that's all he did.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. And it's one of the finest guitar tones ever recorded. And as far as good album to tribute to Charlie Watt, because I think Charlie
holds
again one of those albums where he had, because it was a little bit of a both, a little bit again, 1 foot in R&B, 1 foot in pop music. He was able to do some stuff here. Whereas, and able to experiment a little bit. Normally, Charlie's very he's a jazz drummer trapped in a rock drummer's body, so he's usually he's thinking about swinging more than he can. Whereas here, he could kind of let himself go a little bit. And the other thing this album contains is actually my favorite Rolling Stones song, which is "Dead Flowers."
Okay, cool. That is a good one.
Pardon?
That is a good one. Yep.
Which is I think is a wonderful song. And friend of mine, one of the first guys who started to play in a rock band with when I was in high school. His dad has all the Rolling Stone albums from when they were new.
Wow.
Basically from the debut all the way up until the split in the 80s.
Fuck. Okay. Wow.
And that's the inheritance.
Jeez.
But
that's fucking nuts.
with him and I, obviously listened to his dad's records way back when in high school, and this was always a good one. And I think like I said before, in the grand scheme of Rolling Stones albums, this is a good one to do because it's a nice middle ground, good one to check out. So 10 out of 10. Dead Flowers the highlight. Everyone should check it out. If you haven't heard this one, I don't know what you're doing watching this show. Be listening to this album.
Nice.
Yeah. Fucking awesome. And very sad to hear about Charlie Watts. Greatest testament ever to Charlie Watts was Keith Richards. Keith would always say, The Rolling Stones won't end until Charlie Watts doesn't want to be in the band anymore. And they've got Steve Jordan, who was announced for the next tour when Charlie was sick. And Steve plays in Keith's solo band. And truth be told, after that could be the end of the Stones.
Yeah, most likely will be, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very sad news all around.
Yeah. All right. From one fan to another, Dave, over to you.
Yeah, I'm a big Stones fan. I was going to wear that T-shirt up there, which is actually Julia's, but there's no way I get over the beer gut. It just won't fit. Too many beers. Not going to happen. But this is also Julia's. She's got the vinyl. But
Nice.
This is a fantastic album. You got the big known songs, the live set staples, and then you got some more interesting, deeper cuts on it. And when I started to get into the Stones when I was about 20 years old, you just grab a greatest hits package and go from there. And then you find the songs that you like, that you know, and you start to go through the albums, and you realize that, you know, you go for the hits and you stay for the album in total, because they really did write some great music. And this is kind of wedged in between Let It Bleed and Exile on Main Street, and there's such a big difference between Let It Bleed and Exile, but this is like the missing link in between. And actually, some of the songs that ended up on this were recorded during Let It Bleed. And we're not just talking about throwaway songs. I mean, Brown Sugar, Wild Horses, and Sister Morphine were part of that.
Wow.
So they held them off. And they also did some stuff that would end up on Exile. Speaking of Exile, I always thought that album was too long. Listening to their early material, it's more blues-based. And over the years, they slowly developed more things into their music. You get the big stadium rock band they would become. You end up with the horn section, the backup singers, the guest musicians, and all started to hit its peak around here. But I think adding the female vocals to the backup were a great choice. That made an extra, just this juggernaut of a band that we know them today. They did a bit of that before this album, but this really peaked around here. This is exactly what I want from an album. Very diverse listen. There are so many different tempos and styles and moods throughout here. You got the fun songs like Brown Sugar, and serious stuff like Sway, darker stuff like Sister Morphine, and then more reflective stuff like Wild Horses. Love that solo section in Sway. There's piano, and then there's a piano solo, and then a guitar solo, and it's all held down by Charlie Watts. You know, everyone's focusing on what's going on in the foreground, but if you just shift gears, and he just held everything together really nicely. And really interesting song structure in that. The chorus isn't really different to the verses. It just runs in and becomes a piece of the actual verse, and you don't get much of that in songwriting. I thought that was very cool. Wild Horses is a fucking beautiful song. I love that song. And third song on the album, and we're in 3 different songs, and it just flows beautifully from one style to the other. That song is a great example of how this band just works together to make the song the best it can be. You know, there are drums on that track, but they really don't come out to the foreground, because you got the vocals, you got the rest of the instruments, and they're all just in sync together. And you're just drawn to the melody, the rhythm, and the vocals and the singing, but you're not focused on one individual part. It's the whole thing together. Jagger never had the biggest range, but he can always use his voice to serve the required emotion of the song. And there's always been that real honesty in the lyrics and the performances that he's done. So it might not be the best singer in the world, but man, he can fucking go when he has to. Gotta love the sax solo on Can You See Me Knocking. I mean, most of these songs, they have like this little element that differentiates them from everything else, and just something unique that makes them great. Bitch, what a fucking great riff that is. It's so catchy and instantly memorable. And it's just an A minor pentatonic scale. You know, how many songs or solos have been used in that, and it just doesn't sound boring or dated. You can just hear that over and over again. And once again, they add the horns to that song and gives it that unique stamp. Another favorite of mine is Sister Morphine. That's just a fucking haunting, fantastic song. And it's one of those ones where you just get a chord sheet and just jam along with it. And just whatever mood you're in, it's just fucking brilliant. Dead Flowers, as Tim said, that's a fucking beautiful song. Nice, mellow, rocker, and a great way to wind down the album. Then you get a song nobody really talks about with Moonlight Mile, and you know, it's a great way to close the album. It's an interesting contrast to Brown Sugar that opened it, because you've got this high energy, and you've got this one that's almost tired, weary, and burnt out. So kind of bookends. So you go on this journey over different styles and moods that the Stones can do, and like where their career was and where it's going to go. And it's just a great way to end it. But as a whole, this is just a fucking great album, and it's always sounding great, whether you're listening on vinyl or CD or remastered digital. It's just hats off to the recording of this album because it just sounds fantastic. I give this 9 out of 10. Brown Sugar, Sway, Wild Horses, Bitch, Sister Morphine, Dead Flowers, and Moonlight Mile. But the whole fucking thing's great. But this is this and Aftermath would probably be my 2 favorite Stones albums. I do think Exile is a bit overrated, and unlike Use Your Illusion, it's a bit too long. But
it's fair call.
But then, if you didn't have the Stones, you wouldn't have Guns N' Roses, so got to credit them for that. I'll shut up now. I've gone on enough.
I think there's a lot of bands who wouldn't have without these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we've gone through you two, which are, you're much bigger fans of the Stones than I am. I'm not against them. I just haven't really spent a lot of time with them. I've always liked what I've heard. Just one of those bands you feel like you're going to get to it someday and you never really get to it. This band, we probably should do a special. I've got like 30 albums to get through, so that might be a staggered effect. There's a lot there. Look, from the opening note of this one, this is pure vintage old school rock and roll from the 60s and the 70s when that really big melting pot just comes through right from the opening of it. I loved the panning right from the start. I mean, I know that I'm a bit of a production head and all that sort of stuff, but the fucking mix on this is, oh my God, more of this, please. The only odd thing about the mix was the vocals being back a bit, but that was actually really complimentary because it allowed Mick to push a bit more. I think they might have put him in the booth and put the cans up higher on him, so he had to actually push a bit, and then they mixed him back with a bit of reverb and just made that sort of, I don't know, they did it really nice, a bit more grunt to it, and it just worked really nicely. But the way the little details in this one, like from saxophone, castanets, piano, brass, and string sections, all those things are so well captured. And back in the era of tape, where it would have to be done live virtually, this is just an outstanding group of performances, along with the mix, and the execution is fucking brilliant. If you want old school rock and roll groove, this has got it and then some. It's just going to make you want to move, listen to this kind of music. It's got some heartfelt stuff in there too, some more somber moments, some darker stuff in there too. But the fun stuff is definitely present. But it's cool to hear you guys talking about how this is a sort of a tipping point kind of an album for these guys. And you get that because there's a lot of diversity on the songwriting and the tracks on this one. You've got a lot of attitude, but a lot of soul at the same time. You've got a bit of Latin, a bit of jazz. You've got some hillbilly, some blues, some folky stuff in this one as well. This has a bit of everything going on from that time. It's just like what Aerosmith did before Aerosmith were doing their thing, kind of it just felt like to me. The whole thing flows nicely. The ebb and flow of this album is fantastic. It's not an overly long one, but it's that they did this really weird thing with this album where the short songs felt longer than they were and the long songs felt shorter than they were. They just managed to do this thing with the composition of the performances that made everything individually interesting, which is so well done. Combine it with the mix, like the detail and the panning. For me, in the performance-wise, I think this is truly Charlie's album, listening to it, because the drumming is so central what's going on with these songs. But the way they've mixed him in, they've got guitars and that panned hard left and right, but also parts of the drumming is too. And so you've got different frequencies coming through the left and the right, which really does accent who's doing what and who's holding things down. And Charlie, I think, is probably the man of the match on this album for mine. I know everyone talks about the other ones, especially Mick and Keith, but this wouldn't be the same without a drummer.
Charlie's always man of the match.
Yeah, well, there you go.
No, I'm not just saying that because I'm a drummer. Yeah. I'm saying that because, like he's the most talented guy in his band. And, I mean, the saying of, you're only as good as your drummer is proven 100% by the Rolling Stones.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because your drummer doesn't control your time. Your drummer holds everything together, and he's acting as your conductor. Yeah. And he's the one who's, like, if you listen to Can You Hear Me Knocking, right, that little breakdown at the end.
Yeah. Yep.
That would sound like absolute shit if it wasn't for Charlie's ghost notes that just tie everything together.
Yep. A lot of subtlety in this across the board, and I think that's a nod to the talent in, Charlie, but the rest of the band too had enough to sort of keep up with it and do what they need to do, because there was nothing there's a lot going on, but nothing was overdone. And they knew when to just really strip things back and just let things breathe. And for a 45-minute album, this is a hell of a journey. I love the tones and the separation on this. The tones, like you were saying, the guitar tone, Tim, is fucking brilliant. But every bit of tone on this is just so well done. For a mix in the 70s, fuck me. Just take me back to that. Like, this just sounds great. When you get down to the nitty-gritty, you can see why certain songs have higher plays when you go through the Spotify counts, and that some are many millions more ahead of the other ones. But every song on this album has a lot of plays, though, in the millions. There's nothing that's been completely shunned. So there's something here for pretty much anyone as well. It's really accessible stuff. You've got, some fun stuff on here, but you've also got, we'll talk about some darker stuff in here, like Sister Morphine. That's pretty dark. And that's a interesting point on the album too. I liked how Bitch sort of kicked things up a gear too. That's one of my favorite tracks on this one. And if nothing else, like the same thing too, there's a little breakdown in Sister Morphine where they just strip things back, and it's the most heavily produced moment on this thing, where they just use the reverb and the way it just echoed and built back up again, which is so well done. Helen's put a comment here saying Stone's mix arrangement and timing ain't no accident, very orchestrated. And this whole thing is the band, the producer, the songs, the whole lot just working together. Every performance, every aspect, every technical element is really in line to make this a stunning piece of work. I'm not the world's biggest Stones fan, which I said at the top, but this is maybe more than willing to go on, deep dive into a lot more of this stuff now, because this is incredibly well executed for what it is at the time too. So fucking well done. And yeah, there we go. I'm glad that it's been, because I didn't directly choose one. I went to the audience in the lounge and said, okay, which one should we do out of these ones? Because they got an anniversary album, but it's comforting to me to hear you guys that know the band so much better than I do. So this is a really good album to pick as an album to cover for this particular week. So I'm glad we got, quote unquote, the right one in that regard, because this is a really fucking good album. Go and check it out.
It's a smart audience.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, I lean into them for this sort of stuff, and they never let me down. So well done to everyone. I give this one a 9 out of 10. It's a fucking good album. Brown Sugar, Bitch, and Dead Flowers were my standouts on this one. Sally also said, if you don't like Wild Horses, you're just not listening, or Dead on the inside. And that is one of the ones I put a star next to as well. I do love that one as well. It's not quite my top 3 for this one as well. So fantastic stuff all around. So please do go and check it out. Make sure you give us those. Got a few comments here. I'll get to them in a second. All right, I'll do it now. Actually, so Helen jumped in with the Leprous one before, saying, couple of 100 drinks and put on a load of washing while listening to the Leprous album. So, there we go with that one. But Helen also said, Charlie, go on.
I was going to say, if you maybe like fuck around with this tempo speed on the Leprous album, you could get it in time with the washing machine.
Actually, yeah. That'd be a neat trick. Try that. Please do. Film it and let us know how you go. Charlie Watts always drums behind the beat, and that's his signature. That's from Helen there. There's a comment from us in the audience there. And Sally, when you were talking about your top, Dave, we can't see you got Dave. So there we go. Putting the t-shirt on. There you go. There you go. Now you can.
Where's the 20?
And if you are checking out on Facebook, Helen's put another link into the comments. If you want to hear Charlie at his stellar best, listen to this seldom heard track with Keith singing the best of the best. Okay, so I'm not sure what it is. I can't see the link right now, but yeah, check that out if you can. Like I said, Sally said, if you don't like Wild Horses, you're just not listening, or Dead on the inside. And Helen said, Stones, mix arrangement, timing, ain't no accident, very orchestrated. And yes, Mick did sign on my chair. Yeah, you said that one last week, so thank you for sharing that with us. And Lee's jumped in to say, a plethora of delights, a fruit salad compodium. Thanks for the review, fellas, and honouring Charlie. A good gateway entry to the Stones. Well, there we go. So that's very high praise.
It wasn't just that, because this is 1971, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, at this time, right, rock drumming is trying to copy John Bonham.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
Yeah. And John Bonham's trying to copy Gene Krupa, right?
Yep.
So what they're doing is they're playing really big drums, tuning them really high, and just hitting the shit out of them, right? And, he's mixing himself perfectly and all that. But he's also trying to keep up with, high-gain Marshalls with Les Pauls.
Yeah.
Whereas the Rolling Stones weren't trying to do that. Charlie was a jazz drummer. And Charlie always thought Bonham was too heavy-handed, right?
Yep.
He played too loudly. And Keith, and the other thing is, too, he didn't have to keep up with Keith. Keith was not a Marshall or a Les Paul guy. He was an old R&B guy.
Yeah.
So what that meant is, because when this era, while we're all still learning how to record loud drums and how to record loud guitars, this is why, concert toms became a thing, like the single-headed drums that, like Phil Collins and that used to play. Because they're all just trying to keep up with loud guitars. Whereas the Stones didn't have to do that because Keith wasn't really playing that loud and Charlie wasn't really playing that loud. And so they could actually just, set up, three microphones in a room and go for it. And they'd sound great.
This embodies less is more in that regard.
Yeah. And, they these, he was playing, like I said, these guys were jazz and blues players tracked in the rock and roll era.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. I liked how on this one you got little things too, like there was that little country twang. Which song was that?
Dead Flowers.
But I got Dead Flowers. But also I got the blues. Like there's, the way that things moved on Can't You Hear Me Knocking, that was another one too. Like the diversity across this one is really fucking well done. And it shows because a lot of the you can imagine the temptation would be to try too hard to really swing for the fences, where these guys just really let things breathe, and everyone did that, which is really refreshing in a lot of respects for mine.
They were too cool for school.
Yeah,
and they knew it.
Yeah, that's a good way.
And they could back it up.
Yeah.
Like, man, I'm glad I need to play loud. Fuck that.
Yeah,
I'm just doing my thing here.
Yeah, I don't. You guys,
and they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, they did. It's a little bit like on the local scene. The first time I saw City Sharps, where every band comes in with fucking stacks and stuff going on. These guys just pulling their little amps, mic it up, and it sounds $1 million fucking bucks because they haven't gone for too much power. They've just gone to get the right tone. And I think that's a bit of a lost art in a lot of respects for mine. Everyone's gone for volume and power and just left that space behind, which is there's a lot to be said about that for me. Might be a bit of a grumpy old man moment, but I really do enjoy that stuff. So,
It's definitely a sound guy moment.
It is. That's very, very true. That's very, very true. I will completely copy that. That is mine. I do apologize, everyone. I do tend to waffle on about that sort of stuff, but, we have our own little bits and pieces that really grab our individual attention. So that's why we're all different people. But, yeah, that kind of wraps up the reviews for tonight, which means we're getting toward the end of things. So we'll get to the bin in just a second. But before we get to the fun part of the night, make sure you're following us, follow, subscribe, share, comment. All those things all help us out to get the word of these streams out there. So anything you can do in that regard is greatly appreciated. And make sure you're following us across any and all of our social platforms. All the information here for that is in the description or the post of this video here, or audio if you're listening on Spotify and the other platforms. And if you'd be so kind, please check out our fantastic sponsors as well. Squidding, Screen Printing, Alt, Cult, and Rockstar Finance. Just find them, give them a follow on social. Their details, just like ours, are in the description or the post, wherever you're tuning in from. And just give them a bit of a follow. Show them some love, especially in these times. So everything's a bit harder, especially in the last sort of week or so. So please do just give them that. No, don't have to do much more than that. Just give them a like or a share. Anything like that is greatly appreciated by us here too. Our next stream, we do normally do one on a Sunday. We're going to push it to Monday because of Father's Day coming up on Sunday. So a lot of us have got other things going on. So we'll do it on Monday night instead. We're going to talk about the latest from Iron Maiden, which drops tomorrow, along with the Night Flight Orchestra and local band Desecrator. They're going to give those ones the treatment on Monday night coming up. So Monday.
2 out of 3 for that.
Hey, it was funny because I know that Brendan wants to rip into the album for the reason for the Night Flight Orchestra, because I tend to like the band and everyone else seems to fucking hate the band. And Brendan actually voted for it in the lounge because he thinks it'd be fun. I reckon he thinks just doing it because he knows it'd be hilarious when we sit there and fucking stuck in each other again. So tune in for a diverse one. So yeah, like Tim said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but I'm pretty sure Iron Maiden and Desecrator will make up for the Night Flight Orchestra if that's not your thing anyway. So that's what's coming up on Monday night. So Monday this week and then back to normal programming after that. Check it out after this, which is not too far away, on Channel 44 in Adelaide, Thursday nights. It's 10 p.m. now. So 10 p.m. is the new time slot. Thank you, Nudes, for confirming that with us. I actually got an email from the network as well. So 10 p.m. Thursday nights is when we now start on Australian Central Time for our Channel 44 broadcasts of the show. So that's on about an hour and a half, half an hour from now, roughly 40 minutes. And then we've got Saturday nights, Channel 31, Melbourne and Geelong. That is 10:30 p.m. on Saturday nights. Same old for us there. Our next special is all to do with revisiting Van Halen, and that'll be coming up at the end of September. And otherwise, we'll just keep doing what we do. So make sure you follow us to keep up to date with everything. But that brings us to the fun part of the night. So let's get to it. Let's go to the bin. And Dave, over to you first, buddy.
Yeah, fake selling advertisements on Facebook. Saw a couple of advent calendars come up recently for Christmas, and you got Guns N' Roses ones, and they're advertising Guns N' Roses advent calendars. I thought that's pretty cool. And I saw an Iron Maiden one as well. But they got these little figures. There's no way they could fit in the fucking advent calendar because they're pop vinyls. So every little bit of memorabilia, they're putting them along with these things. So the fucking advent calendar would have to be like that. So that's obviously fake. I thought, yeah, forget about that. But then I'm scrolling through, and it's got the Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction casket box set, $99. And my heart stopped. Like, $99. Oh my God. No, it's too good to be true. That can't be fucking real. So I checked all the comments, and yeah, it was bullshit. But for that brief little moment where my heart stopped, I was like, yes, $99. But no. So they got me, and yeah, there was a great deal of disappointment, and then anger, and then frustration. So in the fucking bin.
So we went through the full stage there, Dave.
Yeah. Life is hard. First world problems, man.
Yeah. Well, that's a good one to start us off. Tim, what have you got for the bin?
The retirement of Formula One driver Kimi Räikkönen.
Oh, okay.
This guy, if you don't know him, is the most entertaining man in all of sports.
He's pretty good.
Just because he has the world's driest sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Like they asked him where the car could be improved, and he just looks at them and goes, around the lap. Actually had his first race in Australia, first Formula One race in Australia, and showed up to the track 15 minutes before the start of the race, eating ice cream because he was at Crown all night.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, retired at the Monaco Grand Prix, and rather than going back to the pitch, just went and sat on his yacht and watched the rest of the race from there. Just an all-round champion, and well, the world is less entertaining without him.
Nice. Well, mine's really parochial and really fucking local, and I'm putting Carlton Football Club in the fucking bin. One, I'm a Collingwood supporter, so I can, and it feels fucking good to do so. But the one year that Collingwood are a complete fucking disaster, Carlton go, hang on, hold my beer. Fucking morons have sacked their new coach 2 years into a contract, thinking they got Ross Lyon lined up, and he's now pulled himself out of the fucking running for it. So good luck, dickheads. Carlton Football Club in the fucking bin. Well done. Fuck me. Like,
this is after Clarkson said, "Nah, I'm not coaching this year."
Yeah, exactly. So they've just completely shot themselves in the foot, which, from my perspective, is fucking hilarious. And I'm wrapped with the appointment of Craig McRae for the record, but for Collingwood. But yeah, I just think it's hilarious that in the year that Collingwood, if Carlton picked a year to not fuck up, it should have been this year because we've just balls it this year. And Carlton have gone, nah, we're going to go one better. And you have to take the off-season as well. So please keep going. You've taken all the headlines, and I'm all for it. So there we go. That's a short, sharp one from me. And Helen's jumped in with a bin here. She's gone, fuck it. This morning I brought in my bins, inner nighty, heels, and lippy. Why not? Cop that, neighbours. Well done. More power to you. Fucking well done.
Damn right.
More of that.
Damn right.
Yeah, that's where we're at. So that's it for us tonight. We're back again on Monday. Unless there's anything else you guys want to add before we get out of here quickly.
No, I'm out.
No? Oh, good. Alrighty. Well, on that note, we'll see you all again very, very soon. Monday night is the next stream, and check us out on Saturday night on TV, and also tonight, in just a short time from now on Adelaide as well. You can check out those online with CTV Plus. Just do a Google for that. But we'll see you all again very, very soon. Until next time, I'm Andrew.
I'm Dave.
Tim.
As always.
Drink up.
Rock on.
Beautiful. We got there in the end. Bye.